Welcome to Secrets of the Wandering Wolf. I'm your host, Tom, the Wandering Wolf, and you are joining me for another episode of Wisdom Wednesday. As always, thank you for joining, showing up, tuning in, and listening from whenever you are, wherever you are. When was the last time you had to reevaluate what you knew and go back into your resources, into your knowledge bank, and go find the missing piece that maybe something new is showing you? Just for you to find out that this missing piece is not new, it is old, and that while you were studying, you missed something. Well, that happened to me. And I study the runes, and I've been studying them on and off for years. I've used them in meditation, in magic, in divination, for readings, for energy work. I've used them for quite a bit. But every so often, I like to buy a new book, read a new perspective, and most of the time, they're all about the same when it comes to the runes. But for whatever reason, this particular book had a more practical approach that made me go back to the rune Fehu and realize it's not just a rune for wealth and money and exchange and fertility. This is actually the driving force. This is the embodiment of the beginning. And its energy is this impulse to start. The impulse to will, the willpower to do. It's not the act of doing, but it's right before that. That deep, fiery desire. I associated with the element of earth for the longest time because I kept thinking of the material aspect of it until I realized Fehu is the primordial spark that started life in the Norse mythology. And there's a story that I could read another time. And when I went back through my resources to find this, I was like, holy crap. How did I miss this? My meditations, my magic, my bind runes, my everything would be different. Or maybe not different, but I would have approached them differently. The way I read people will be different from this point forward. Like, this blew my mind. So instead of getting upset, I said, I'm going to start meditating with them again. I'm going to start journeying with them once a week, specifically when I sat with Odin. And what I found with the rune Fehu was it's actually quite difficult to retrieve the essence of this rune. You have to be willing to go to the very primordial space that it comes from, very hot place, very fiery place, and be willing to retrieve just a fraction, a tiny little ember of this, and then embody it for as long as you can. Because just like anything that is driven, the desires you have are driven by your will, they fade and they wane. And so you have to continue to cultivate the fire. And as I did that, I noticed that the energy of this rune was following me. It was opening doors. I had new opportunities show up. And in fact, the desire to start this series came out of nowhere. I knew I always wanted to do this. I just didn't know how. And suddenly, sitting with the rune and allowing its energy to infuse with my thoughts, I saw how I wanted to do it. And that's how this came to be. And so when you're working with any system, sigils, symbols, runes, mudras, mantras, whatever you want to call it, if there's study to be done, study it deeply. Do not skip anything. Because in a few years, spirit might come to you and smack you in the back of the head and say, hey, by the way, you forgot this. Now you have to relearn everything. And so do things in order. Try not to skip anything. And study, study, study. And for all you up-and-coming rune readers, rune workers, bind rune creators, and magical people interested in the runes, I would like to share a stanza with you, which goes, what you ask of the runes will prove true. They are of divine origin, made by the mighty gods and painted by Odin. You'll do best with your mouth shut. Remember, when you sit with them, sit in silence after you read them, after you work with them, and wait to receive their messages. The runes are tricky about who they reveal what to. So be patient, be mindful, and study as much as you can. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Wisdom Wednesdays. As always, you can find more information about me on Instagram and through the school platform. I am still working out the kinks on how I want to use that platform, so just be patient, and I hope to see you there. And thank you for listening to Secrets of the Wandering Wolf.